I'm going to start with the position that Zeus exists and runs the planet. You can't use your logic without believing in Zeus running the planet. Your logic is a direct result of Zeus, and if you reject that, you can't use logic at all. And because he's the source of logic, if you reject this, you reject all logic in all circumstances. Oh, and if you don't accept Zeus, I can tell you that your brain is incapable of logic, so I can just ignore everything you say. Have fun in Hades, by the way.
Cliff, I thought you were an atheist.
Sorry, what has that got to do with anything?
Have you abandoned your atheism?
What would that have to do with anything?
Well, you're speaking to me about the nature of reality, right?
By default, everything you say is illogical because you don't believe that Zeus exists.
Okay. Well, in my previous discussions with you, you had expressed that you're an atheist, right? Are you still? Are you still?
I'm starting with the position of Zeus here.
Okay, so are you no longer an atheist?
My position isn't relevant. We're examining yours here.
Well, no. Anytime anybody speaks, they're speaking from their worldview. So your position about the nature of reality is relevant when you speak, whether you make propositional statements or ask questions. All of these proceed from your web of beliefs, which would be your worldview.
How do you know that without Zeus?
Well, that might be the case, which we'll find out. But I just simply asked you a question. Your previous position was that you were an atheist. Have you abandoned your atheism?
I believe the argument must be over because you don't accept Zeus. I've just explained.
I asked you a very fair and reasonable question. Okay. Are you now an atheist when you're asking that question?
My position doesn't matter. I'm examining yours.
No, your position does matter because you are speaking from within your worldview.
No, I'm not. I'm speaking upon a Zeus.
Unless of course, you are speaking from a worldview. Is that correct?
I'm speaking from a Zeus worldview.
Okay, good. Well, have you changed your prior position?
My position isn't relevant. We're talking about a Zeus.
No, it is relevant because in our previous conversations, and I'd like to know if you've embraced a form of theism or deism. Is that your position?
No, it's not my position. I am bringing a logical argument.
Cliff, you're being entirely evasive, and it's abundantly transparent by everybody who's watching on YouTube.
The way I'm using thing is.
Cliff, have you previously in our prior conversations and debate argued for atheism?
Yes.
Okay,
but
good.
That isn't relevant.
Now you're arguing. Now you're arguing from a different worldview, where Zeus is the core of that worldview. Correct?
I am arguing that position.
Okay, is that what you hold to?
I am arguing that position. I've asked and answered. You've asked that question already.
Okay.
I've answered it already. This is a discussion on logic. Okay, my position isn't really that relevant. I am basically.
No. You need to stop right there, Cliff. Your position is entirely relevant because anything that comes out of your mouth flows from your worldview. Okay?
How can you say that without Zeus?
Okay. Well, that might be the case.
Okay, so you can't.
What you're attempting to do. Okay, what you are attempting to do. And by the way, this is not original. By the way, this has been done many times before. What you're attempting to do is present a parody. Now, I think it's clear to the audience and to myself. You haven't abandoned your atheism. You're simply adopting this as a rhetorical. Okay. Can I finish, please? You're simply adopting this as a rhetorical stance in order to do a parody for a worldview that you don't actually hold. Now, is this Zeus that you're referring to? Are you referring to Zeus from the Greek and Roman gods?
Yep.
Okay, good. Is Zeus a contingent being?
What difference does it make?
Well, the difference it makes is you are the one. Cliff, you are the one who is proposing. You asked me a question. What difference does it make? And I'm responding to your question. The difference it makes is if you're going to propose Zeus, then we need to know Zeus's properties and attributes. Okay?
Okay.
Now, you told me
here we go.
Zeus,
I've already given you it.
Zeus is the same Zeus from classical mythology, right?
I've already given you the tools that are required in my
So Zeus is the same Zeus that I read about in classical mythology, right?
I'm talking about the proposition that I gave you. You see, here's what you're doing.
Is that
okay?
Hold on a second. Hold on, I'm getting sound here. Hold on.
Okay.
Is somebody?
Someone's inviting you to hang out somewhere, by the sounds of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. All right. Hold on a second. Okay. So this Zeus that you're saying is the foundation and basis for all knowledge and justification. Is this the Zeus of classical mythology?
Sorry?
The Zeus to which you...
Look. Let me explain. Okay.
Oh, boys, well, hold on, wait, hold on, stop, boys, y'all need to stop interrupting each other. That's been happening on both sides.
Yeah. Okay. What I'm trying to do here is demonstrate that I am using exactly the same thing that you're doing when you say God exists and God is, God is the foundation of logic, etc., etc. Okay, and I am going to illustrate how it's a faulty premise, and the way I do it is to say that Zeus exists and runs the planet, and your logic doesn't work unless you accept that Zeus exists.
Yeah. Well, this is not a new ploy. This is what an argument from a parody. All right. You might think it's original, but it's been tried many times before. But you have already basically conceded that the Zeus to which you're referring to, which all knowledge or justification is necessary, is the Zeus of classical mythology, right?
It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter.
No. You see, when you say it doesn't matter,
okay,
then your argument. Okay, then what you're doing. You see, I'm not trying to be rude here, but when you say it doesn't matter, it makes difference no way, either way. Then you're giving me an adolescent type of reasoning. It does matter one way or the other. Is the Zeus that you are referring to the god of classical mythology?
I don't know. It doesn't matter. I'm presenting you with a premise.
Okay.
And the premise is all that matters.
I'm not getting any sound from. I'm not hearing any sound. Can you guys hear me? Okay, try it now. Say something.
Can you hear me? How's it going?
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Excellent. Right. Okay.
I can hear you. Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to backtrack a little bit just so we can keep it simple. Let's not add loads of other stuff, about Greek mythology and things like that. Let's just keep it very simple using what I present. Is that okay? Does that sound reasonable?
Well, yeah, I'm asking you about the nature of Zeus.
Yeah, basically Zeus is a god and runs the planet. There you go.
Okay.
That's pretty much all we need to know.
Okay. Is Zeus contingent?
Logic is contingent on Zeus.
No, I said, is Zeus a contingent being?
Contingent on what?
Anything.
No, he's contingent on himself. There you go.
Okay, so he's non-contingent?
Nope. No, but he's not necessary. Nothing needs to be. He doesn't need to be necessary for any. Sorry, nothing needs to be. Let me try that again.
Is Zeus a necessary being? Is Zeus a necessary being?
Yes, because logic won't work without Zeus.
Okay, so Zeus is a necessary being. Is Zeus omnipotent?
What does it matter?
Well, what it matters is if Zeus is not omnipotent, then you cannot guarantee me or justify that
He only needs to be
well, hold on. If Zeus is omnipotent, then he can construct a world in such a way that you can know certain things where you cannot be wrong. Is Zeus omnipotent?
Zeus doesn't need to be omnipotent. He only needs to be able to run the world. And
I didn't ask you what he needs to be. I said, since you are advocating Zeus in order to avoid the Christian God, is Zeus omnipotent?
It's not avoiding the Christian God at all. It's just demonstrating your own logic.
Well, I think it'll be clear momentarily that's exactly what you're doing. But is Zeus omnipotent?
Does he need to be?
Is Zeus omnipotent?
I've answered the question with a question. Does he need to be omnipotent?
You are the one advocating Zeus. You told me that Zeus is a necessary being. He is non-contingent.
He is.
Okay, that's the first. That's the first act.
Logic.
I understand that. I understand that.
Works if Zeus.
Okay, good. I understand that, but I'm trying to understand your core foundation. You said Zeus is a necessary being. Okay, can I finish without being interrupted? Okay, you have told me that Zeus is a necessary being. Okay, that's attribute number one. Does Zeus have the attribute of omnipotence?
It doesn't matter.
It does matter.
All that matters is that logic can't exist without Zeus.
Okay, good. I understand that you've made that statement. Now,
okay,
is either Zeus? Okay, when you say logic, does that include the law of non-contradiction?
Yep.
Does that include the law of excluded middle?
Yep.
Okay, good. Zeus is either omnipotent or Zeus is not omnipotent. Is Zeus omnipotent?
You seem to be failing to deal with the question. Rather, you seem to be asking lots of questions. And I've given you all the information you need to know, which is logic is dependent on Zeus. Okay? And
if Zeus is not...
You see, all these questions I'm answering the question. All these questions that you're asking...
You're not answering all my questions.
All these questions that you are asking are meaningless unless you accept that Zeus is logic.
Okay. Okay, good. I'm gonna temporarily, for the sake of discussion, accept that and do an internal evaluation of your worldview. Is that acceptable to you?
But are you able to do that?
Well, from your worldview, is anybody able to do internal critiques?
It's not about my worldview. It's about Zeus, isn't it? It's all about.
Well, that's your worldview.
Okay.
Okay. So good. Like for example, we can temporarily, and this is an analogy. Getting back to Zeus, we could temporarily assume the laws of logic to debate and discuss whether the laws of logic can actually be accounted or justified. Okay.
Yeah.
One can outline. Okay. So what I'm asking you is the foundation of reason that you have declared is Zeus. Is Zeus the foundation of logic or reason? Is Zeus omnipotent?
Well, how can you ask these questions without borrowing from my worldview?
No, I could temporarily assume that logic is dependent on Zeus to do an internal evaluation. For example, I can do an internal evaluation. I could do an internal evaluation of any worldview and temporarily assume it to do an internal critique. You can do that for. Hold on a second. You can do that. You can do an internal critique of any worldview while temporarily assuming that it is a case, and then moving from there to see that if it's internally consistent. Now, I'll ask you, Cliff. This is about the 5th or 6th time I've asked you. Zeus, to whom you say that all logic and reason is contingent upon, is this Zeus omnipotent?
the problem is when you ask that question, you've got to assume that logic proves that Zeus exists.
Okay, I'm asking you about the nature of Zeus to see if your position is internally consistent.
Even
now,
even asking the question requires you to use my worldview.
No, it doesn't.
Ask that of course it does.
Because it may be the case that another worldview is the ground or justification for logic and reason.
No, because you have to accept Zeus. Otherwise, your brain is incapable of logic.
Well. Right now, what you're doing is a very poor parody of a presuppositional vote, and I must admit, it's very embarrassing for you. It's not really. It's not an effective tactic because you see, you can sit there and ask me certain attribute questions about the Christian God. Now, has Zeus, who is the source of logic and reason, revealed or not revealed to you that he is omnipotent?
You're asking a question again using my worldview, aren't you?
That's right. I'm doing an internal critique.
About Zeus?
I'm temporarily assuming that, like, for example, I might start to walk across a bridge and temporarily assume that it's stable to do an examination. Now, that might end in fatal results. But I can temporarily assume your argument in order to do a temporary evaluation or an internal critique. Did you notice that when he was painted into the corner and he couldn't get out, he threw out the Muslim tactic? This is what skeptics do.
Yeah, I noticed that a lot. One of the first things they do was they'll go to some other worldview, and the Muslim worldview is typically the most frequent one, but you shut that down pretty quick and show that you do an internal critique. Right. You do an internal critique and show that it's internally contradictory. And then they say, well, other people have done that with Christianity too. I mean, well, they've tried.
but you see, here's the problem. When they attempt to do an internal critique of the Christian worldview, right? They'll say, well, the Christian worldview is incoherent. The Christian God is incoherent.
Right? And by the way, Hannah's not a troll. I just invited her here.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Hey,
when a skeptic attempts to do an internal critique, they're already presupposing the laws of logic. They're presupposing the uniformity of nature. They're presupposing their basic cognitive reasoning. So they're going to do an internal critique from within their world.
DD's last sentence made no sense. The best I can gather is that he seems to think that there is a problem with the atheist doing an internal critique of the Christian worldview. But when he was debating Cliffjumper, he was saying you can do an internal critique of any worldview, by temporarily assuming it.